If I were going to take a road trip, the Chrysler Pacifica minivan, most likely the newest model that has pretty much the same interior as the old model, except it has some updates. Some, how should I say, autonomous driving, such as the adaptive cruise control, fully loaded with the heated, ventilated seats and whatnot. That's what I would use for a road trip. First of all, if I was going on a road trip, there'd be people with me to go on that road trip. And we'd all have plenty of space. We'd all have access to the doors. So you've got those side doors that can easily be opened by pushing a button in the ceiling on either side. You've got plenty of space to stretch out. You can eat. You don't have to worry about stuff spilling on the floor. This is my ideal road trip vehicle. V6 engine, not terribly powerful, but definitely not a gas guzzler like my Jeep SRT. Not a V8, so it doesn't, drink up gas. You don't have to put the premium in it. This is my ideal road trip vehicle. But I don't take road trips. I don't take road trips around this country, first of all, because as you know, a lot of parts of this country are extremely violent and extremely problematic. I had an uncle recently, he went on a trip down south, and his car was broken into. He had a Lincoln Navigator, and somebody took stuff out of his Lincoln Navigator. They broke the handle, and they got in there. If I was going traveling like that, I would be flying, because you fly, you get there really quickly, you get a rental car that you don't give a shit about, insurance covers it, and that's that. Most of the people online who constantly come at my comments and they're attacking my ideas about owning an electric vehicle to say, oh yeah, well, good luck being stuck in a Charger for 13 hours and being on a road trip stuck for 20 and 30 hours and everything. And I try to explain to them, it's like, listen, first of all, EV or no EV, if I'm taking a road trip in my brand new Cadillac Lyric, it won't be for that long. I can charge it at my house while I sleep, while I'm laying in bed, the car's charging. The same logic would apply to the new electric vehicles that Dodge is releasing. What you need to understand is that, there are a lot of things that electric vehicle owners had to adapt to. And some of you may be easily able to adapt to these things, and some of you may not. Now, first of all, the tires, believe it or not, for these electric vehicles, because they have to handle so much torque, you can't use regular tires anymore. You have to get what's called high-load tires. And those high-load tires, by the time you can get an EV, chances are those high-load tires will decrease in price because more people will be manufacturing them, since you've got so many different companies manufacturing EVs now, and everybody's moving in that direction. High-load tires are going to be the new big thing. And again, it's because these cars produce a tremendous amount of torque, but at very low RPM. So if you use regular tires on these cars, you're literally going to grind these tires into dust. The Tesla has already shown us that these things have a lot of torque. They rip themselves right off of dynos. And you can't use regular tires for them. You have to use high-load tires. That's not going to be that big of a deal. Now, the real deal is the charging. First of all, nobody who charges one of these cars, for the most part, is charging these things from 0 to 100%. When you're at home, just like right now, I'm at home, I'm laying in my bed, it's 9:35, I'm looking up at my ceiling fan, talking on this phone to make this video, right? If I had an EV right now, that car would be outside, plugged to my house, and it would be charging. By now, it would be either full 100% or by morning, because it's 9:35, so you think about it. I'm going to go to sleep 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. That's 9 hours. And you could really say it's about 12, because imagine if I got home from work at like 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. I'm plugging the car in as soon as I get home. Now here's the thing. Not everybody owns a house. Okay, I understand that. Some of you, and this is one of the reasons why I always said that electric vehicles are really luxury cars, no matter how expensive they are, even if they're cheap. Some of you are going to buy these things. You're going to go into a public charger. You're going to charge them. And then you're going to realize really quickly that you don't want to be at that public charger because there's other people parked around you. Some of those people are in their cars watching video games on their Tesla, playing movies on YouTube, watching the screen and this, that, and other. From what I can see, most of these new EVs have pretty large screens and they have internet connections because I think they pretty much understand that if you plan on using public chargers, you're going to be waiting in these cars. But that's not the whole reality. The reality is Stop and Shop, Target, Walmart. I was just near a brand new charging station. I'm trying to remember where it was. And I didn't even know that charging station was there. But they had a nice charging station. And it was right there. And it was in a place that I didn't even realize it just popped up. I was at Home Depot the other day. And I realized that they had put the Electrify America charging stations there. And I didn't even know that the things were there. These things are getting put up everywhere. So being able to charge your car, even if you don't have a house, is not going to be a big problem. I live in New York City. I have 2 houses here in New York City. Not only that, I've got family who live, in and around New York City. If I go to their house, I got a big-ass electric extension cord, and I can run that fucker right to their house just in case I ever needed emergency power. And I could run that extension cord into the house. And then, you'd be pop in. You'd be like, hey, Grandma, how you doing? Yeah, your favorite grandson. I came in to visit you. So you sit down and talk to Grandma for about 2.5 hours. And while you're sitting and talking to Grandma, Grandma, is there anything you need help with while I'm here? I can help you do something. You want to bake a cake? Hey, Grandma, you want to bake a cake? Or you'd be like, hey, Grandpa, hey, how's everything going? Yeah, I haven't seen you in a while and everything. You need any help hammering in nails or anything? You need help painting the house? And while you're waiting there, your extension cord is running. People try to make this more complicated than it really needs to be. There's plenty of power sources. Within 10 miles of me, I know where there's at least 20 charging stations. I know that there's Green Acres Mall. They've got a Tesla charging station. And they also have Electrify America. I know Roosevelt Field Mall has Electrify America. I know ShopRite has Electrify America. I know that there's a Target with... You get the point. So, listen. If road trips are your big concern, the last time I went on a road trip, I stopped at a charging station. It was a Tesla charging station. There was not a single person in any of the stalls. And I probably put that in a video that I made. And I drove there in my Jeep SRT and went in there to, pee and poop and all that and get some lunch. And there wasn't a single person in that stall. And there were other stalls, and they were all unoccupied. Now, as time goes on and more people get these cars, my belief is that most of the people buying these cars are going to have them because they already have a house. I don't foresee a big problem with the charging stations. I have heard some stories and some anecdotes that some of the chargers don't work. Some of them may have been damaged or whatever. But for the most part, I'm not worried about that because I'm going to charge this shit at my house. If you have a house, this is not that complicated. So I think of it like this. I think the first people who are probably likely to get their electric cars are either the rideshare people who are doing DoorDash and Uber and Lyft, or people who have houses. If you have a house, an electric car is a great addition to your house. You're using the same electricity that you'd be using to run your air conditioner. 220 volt, step 2 charging. Every single night you plug that shit in, it's full by morning. It's a daily driver back and forth to work. And, basically, that's what it is. It's kind of like an appliance. Now, some of the luxury models, like you see the new Mercedes EQ products, yeah, some of the luxury models are, something you'd want to use for more than a appliance. The thing about it is you can charge them where they have electric chargers. If you needed to take a road trip, which chances are you're not going to do because they've done a lot of studies. The majority of Americans aren't doing these road trips that these people are talking about. Like if you live here in the Northeast and you live in New York, chances are the only place you're doing a road trip to is either Georgia or Florida. There's a lot of electric charges along that corridor of the Northeast. Now, if you live out there in like Nevada or someplace like Las Vegas or something and you're driving back and forth to California, because of the fact that Tesla started in California and made their way to Texas when California turned too liberal and started raising taxes, the simple fact is there's a lot of charging out there. Now, the first thing somebody's going to say is, yeah, but what about all the brownouts and the blackouts and this stuff? Well, first of all, every time I turn on the news, California's on fire. So you're worried about blackouts and brownouts. Every single time I go to the news, there's a fire somewhere in California and it's burning up entire acres of freaking houses and shit. So, first of all, I will never live in California. That's the type of place I would never move to. I have no interest in it. But bottom line is, as time goes on, the infrastructure is going to get better. Now, this charger concept, well, and then technically it's a concept because they called it a charger, but the thing about it is we already know that they're going to make a two-door version and they're going to make a four-door version. I read it in the last news statement that I read. But the thing about it is these cars, from what I saw, are not plug-in hybrid electric vehicles. Now, if they do make a production model that's plug-in electric hybrid vehicle, then it'll probably be similar in design to the Wrangler 4xe, the Grand Cherokee 4xe, or the any of the other 4xEs. Like, I've done a video, I drove the Wrangler. If I see a Jeep Grand Cherokee 4xe, I'll do a test drive on that and I'll make a video for it. The reality is, from what we saw in the video just now, that was just, it may have had a battery in it, but they didn't show where you plug it in. That right there is something you should pay attention to, because chances are what they may have done is they may just make it with the Hurricane i6 engine, and they'll have a 400 horsepower model and they'll also have a 500 horsepower model, because they liked, one thing Dodge loves to do is they like to make it so, or they used to make it so that you could get different cars, but you could choose which engine you wanted, you could choose which transmission you wanted, and some of the other options you could intermix. But my guess is the 400 horsepower model, since they say they're getting rid of the Pentastar V6, which is 300 horsepower, my guess is the 400 horsepower model is going to be the base, and the souped up model is going to be the 500 horsepower model. Unfortunately, the Dodge Hornet doesn't get any of this stuff, but because, it's too small. But from what they're saying, because of the electric motors, torque won't be an issue. So when people say a car is slow, usually their issue is that it doesn't go from 0 to 30 very quickly. And then you get from 0 to 60 because you're basically doing highway speed from a standstill when you enter a highway. Now, these electric vehicles, because of these motors, they go from 0 to 30 very quickly. Their problem is, unless you have a lot of horsepower, they tend to go from like 30 to 60 or 60 to 80. They're not that fast in those ranges. But the way it looks, first of all, the Hemi's dead. I keep thinking to all of these content creators that con you into views by making you believe that the SRT Ghoul was coming. That shit never happened. It never was going to happen. 1,000 horsepower SRT Ghoul. I would have believed it when the Elephant engine came out, except for the fact that the Elephant engine wasn't going to be street legal because of the emission standards. They tried to con you into believing that there was going to be a Charger Demon. That never happened. And and if you really think about it, I was saying it back then. I was like, that doesn't even make sense. The whole point of a Demon is to be a stripped down, drag specialized Challenger. They're not going to do that with the Dodge Charger because the Dodge Charger is already carrying extra weight. It's carrying those extra two doors. So even if you stripped it down, it's still going to weigh more than they want it to weigh. And it's a four-door where you can't sit in the back because it doesn't have a back seat. That was one of the points of the Demon, where you could equip it without the back seat, so that this way, when you get that Demon is, you could put a freaking roll cage in there, And you don't have to worry about what's in the back seat. So I was like, yeah, Charger Demon doesn't make any sense. I have to say, they did surprise me by making the Charger Red Eye, because I didn't expect them to make the Charger Red Eye. But they made it. They made the Red Eye with the wide body kit. And for the most part, if you are determined to buy one of these cars, to hold on to it, the Charger wide body Red Eye is basically the top of the car trims, because the Challenger Red Eye, there's still a lot of those sitting on lots right now. Most people have gone after the Charger because it's the four-door. I would say the Charger wide body Red Eye or the Durango Hellcat. Those are the only two I would really go after. Now, some of you may not like Charger and you want to get a Challenger. Okay, yeah, whatever, go ahead. Unfortunately, my problem with the Challenger is that the real top version of that Challenger, and the only one that I really think is really going to be worth money, is the Demon. The Demon was made in very limited numbers. The Demon is very specialized. Like, it has equipment that the wide-body Charger and Challenger don't have. Like, for instance, it comes with the air freezer, that radiator cooler and all that, the air grabber. Yeah, you can't get that in any of the other Challengers as far as I know. And not to mention, it's a Demon. And if you have the crate, it's worth even more. So if you have the Demon plus the Demon crate, that's the ultimate Mopar that you keep. The Challenger wide-body Hellcat is basically a daily driver, and so is the Challenger wide-body Hellcat. The narrow-body Hellcats, I mean, those had hydraulic steering. The wide-bodies had electric steering. To me, I can't... if you have a Hellcat narrow-body that's paid off, okay, yeah, go ahead. By all means, keep it. Chances are you're going to end up having to get a new car or a second car, something with all-wheel drive, depending upon where you live, like especially if you've got bad weather like we have. But my thing is, the Durango Hellcat is really the one you want to aim for if you can get one of these things. But you know what? The bottom line is, thanks to these markups, no matter which car you try to get, you're going to end up paying close to $100,000. And to me, that doesn't make sense at all. Now, the Durango Hellcat is already overpriced. The Jeep Trackhawk, if you could find one, if you don't mind sinking a lot of money into it, I don't know if you can get an extended warranty, but the Trackhawk and the Durango pretty much are the best of the Hellcat simply because they have all-wheel drive. But at this point, they're probably very, very difficult to get them. It's probably very difficult to even find one that hasn't been damaged or beat up or salvage titled or anything. Because a lot of the people who've been driving these things, they've been wrecking these fucking cars left and right. So, yeah, it's a bit of a pinch. So good luck to you if that's what you plan on doing. Good luck. But I just want to point out all of the bullshit that we've been hearing. They were talking about how you're supposed to have an E85 unveiling, an E85 Challenger. That didn't happen. Like, I'm still expecting, I really, really thought that they were going to unveil that. That didn't happen. There's numerous reasons why I understand why it didn't happen, but for the most part, there's been so much gossip and rumor and bullshit and rumor and conjecture and lies. And my thing is, none of it is official until they make it official. And it appears that, yeah, they'll build you a car. If you want to make a 69 Charger, they'll make you a carbon fiber body, but they're charging $250,000 for it. That doesn't make any sense. You'd be better off buying a beat-up Charger off of eBay and then equipping it with modern stuff. Like, $250,000, that's crazy. A carbon body, that's short of you being a millionaire and being able to typically buy Lamborghinis. That's ridiculous. Like a $250,000? And then you think about, let's say you want to put the Hellcat or the Elephant engine in it. To buy the crate engine, you're talking about another $40,000 to $50,000 right now. I was looking at eBay. I think the Elephant was close to $50,000. I think it was like $49,000. Somebody was selling one. Chances are it probably sold already. But my thing is, it's like, That's a hell of a lot of money to spend. I mean, 200, that's a lot of money. You're going to spend $400,000 to complete the kit? Nah, the average person ain't got that. In fact, I think 99% of all of the people that have ever existed don't have that. 99% of them. So it's like, and right now, most people aren't millionaires. So I don't see anybody who's going to sink that kind of money into a project like that. I just don't see it. So that's basically that. Questions, comments. It's if you want to leave them. I'm still very disappointed that we never got the Hellcat 300. I'm still very disappointed that they seemed as if they were dead set on ruining the Jeep Trackhawk, which should have been called the Jeep Hellcat. It's very, very disappointing that we never got a Magnum Hellcat. We never even got an updated Magnum with the Pentastar V6, the 5.7-liter Hemi. You never got the 6.4-liter Magnum. Basically, I'll say since about 2017, I realized that, Chrysler and Dodge and FCA in general, I realized that they were they were just, but then again, back in 2008, when they went through that bailout era, I realized when they were FCAU, I realized, what was it, Sergio Marconi? I realized they had gone off the rails then. And I'd said it in my videos a long time ago. I realized that they had gone off the rails then. Sergio Marconi seems so dead set to introduce this Alfa Romeo shit and this Fiat shit here. Americans are not Italians. We're not Asians. We're big people. We have big families. We have big needs. And the numbers don't lie. Most of those cars sat on the lots, didn't sell, especially those Fiats. And then when you step up to the Alfa Romeos, most people didn't really want them. There were a few people who did buy them, but most people didn't. So, I rest my case. I think they took this 2009 FCAU, they took this company off the rails. When they were purchased by Fiat and bailed out and whatnot, that they took this company off the rails. So what you're seeing now is the logical conclusion to what happens when you allow foreigners to come into American marketplaces and manipulate them.